Okay, so even with being a teenage mom, like you said, you finished high school,
Mm-hmm.
you go to college,
Yes.
you get an associate's degree, and you start to work and support yourself.
Right.
Now, if we fast forward a little bit to like 1994, you're around 20 years old at the time. Now, you're not at all linked to this situation, but there's a lot of drama that starts to happen with Tupac
Right.
during this time. Were you a Tupac fan during this time?
Not really. I mean, I guess as, growing up in Philadelphia, I mean, obviously there were Pac fans, but most of like the Philadelphia area was more into the whole New York scene. So like West Coast music, obviously like NWA, they love that. But like, you might find a few Pac fans, but for the most part, like Philly people were really more so into the whole New York scene because that's what was really like popping at the time.
Well, I remember that year, Dear Mama comes out. I mean, did you like that song considering
Yeah.
you were a mom
No,
yourself?
yeah, I did like it, but I wasn't like, like a diehard Pac fan. Like I was like a Wu-Tang fan. I was like an Onyx fan. I was, I liked more hardcore hip hop. So to me, that wasn't what that was.
Okay. Well, you're not involved in the situation at all, but I kind of want to set the stage a little bit. In 1994, Biggie ends up getting married to Faith Evans.
Yes.
And around the same time, Lil' Kim said that she got pregnant by Biggie and had an abortion.
Okay.
So there was a lot of craziness that was already going on in Biggie's life on a personal level. And on your part, you also gave birth to another daughter, right?
Yes, in 95.
Okay, in 95. And what was the relationship with the father in that case?
I mean, we're on okay terms. Like, he's not a bad guy. They have a relationship. So that's a whole different situation from my first daughter. We didn't have a relationship at that time, but we wound up, coming to terms and getting something established.
So essentially, by this time, you're a single mom with 2 kids.
Yes.
And you're around 20 at the time. How hard is that? I mean, considering, you're a paralegal, but that's not a ton of money, obviously.
Right.
And you have 2 kids and, you don't really have the full support of the fathers. So how are you getting by?
I mean, I was working my butt off. Like trust me, I was making it work. I'm not saying it was easy, but I did have the support of my first daughter's mom. She was a lot of help to me. So, trust me, single moms will find a way to make things work. Like, we're hustlers. So, I mean, I wasn't like destitute or anything. Like, I had my own little apartment. Like, I was just making ends meet as best as I could.
Okay. And around that time, Biggie's starting to really blow up.
Right.
Were you a Biggie fan before you met him?
I was, but I wasn't familiar with like all of his music. I remember, I think at one point, me and my girlfriends had like came to New York and went to the tunnel for the first time. And, like literally all they were playing was his music. So I think once that happened and Biggie was like really starting to take off, like his music was really like, like really flying like around in the Philly area.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he became very quickly, essentially the biggest rapper out of the East Coast.
Right. You're right. Yeah. He did.
I mean, after that first album, Ready to Die comes out, and then the Juicy and the One More Chance remix, and then he's hopping on everyone else's stuff. It's like it was a total domination at the time.
No, it was. Well, we actually met at one of his shows in Philly. So, yeah, he definitely started taking off really fast.
Okay, so let's talk about that show. So Biggie had a show in Philly, and you and your girlfriends went to go see him.
Yes, we went to go see the show. After the show, we wanted some pictures, and I remember asking, it was like girls everywhere. It was literally girls driving by, throwing their underwear at him. Like, that's how insane it was. It was just chaotic. And I think I asked him for a picture, and he was like, well, can I take a picture of you? So I'm like, what? It's kind of like we're bantering back and forth. And he had a little camera and I had a little camera, and we're literally like just standing there like taking pictures of each other, which, obviously was funny. And then we wound up taking a picture together, and I think he just asked me for my number, and I gave him my number, not thinking anything of it or whatever. It wasn't anything crazy. I just gave him my number and kind of like went on about my way.
Okay, so what happened next after you guys exchanged numbers?
He called me. I don't remember how soon after that he called, but he called me, and if I'm not mistaken, we talked for a little while on the phone, maybe, I don't know, like a week or maybe like a week and a half. And he said they were having a party in New York somewhere and would me and my friends like to come to the party. So we went to the party and we hung out or whatever. And then, fine and well, everything was fine. I think I came back to Philly, and then they had another party not too long after that. But in the midst of all of that, we still would talk on the phone a lot, like, just getting to know each other or whatever. And then I think the second party I went to rather, he was like, he had a show out of town somewhere. And he was like, would you be down to go to the show with me? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't have any clothes. I don't have anything with me. He was like, don't worry about any of that. Like, I'll make sure you good. Like, don't trip or whatever. And I'm like in a dress. I do remember this. Like, I'm making this long, like, dressy dress. And we're at the airport, and I'm on a flight in this long, like, dressed up gown. And probably like, where the hell is she going? And I don't know where we were. I don't remember like the city, but I mean, it was fine. He sent, somebody out to get me, some clothes and essentials or whatever. It wasn't anything like, romantic. We were just like hanging out. And again, came home. We talked on the phone. And then I don't think anything became like romantic until I flew to LA. I went to LA to meet him because he was doing the Martin show. And that's kind of where, our relationship, became romantic.